intro.
Remember 4 years ago when our parks were neglected and playground equipment was rusting away? My grandfather lived just 1 block away from this park when nothing was here. And today I stand in this park filled with laughing children and parents with pride in our community. This job is personal because I was raised in this city. We're rebuilding our parks because it's time to show our children what standing together can do. Let's continue standing strong for Detroit.
I want to first of all acknowledge your great mayor, Kwame Kilpatrick, who has been on the front lines, doing an outstanding job of gathering together the leadership at every level in Detroit to bring about the kind of renaissance that all of us anticipate for this great city. And he is a leader not just here in Detroit, not just in Michigan, but all across the country. People look to him. We know that he is going to be doing astounding things for many years to come. And I'm grateful to call him a friend and a colleague, and I'm looking forward to a lengthy collaboration in terms of making sure that Detroit does well in the future.
Kwame Kilpatrick roller coaster ride.
It was a ride with stunning highs and crushing lows. Kwame Kilpatrick's 6.5 years in office ended in disgrace. They began with the exuberance and energy of a young man who believed he was destined to be the mayor.
I officially declare myself as a candidate for the mayor of the city of Detroit.
He launched his bid for mayor on the porch of his mother's home. Kilpatrick's opponent had the Gill Hill Council presidency on his resume, even movie credits. But voters soon found the young candidate had star power too. He grew up with a political pedigree. His mother would become a congresswoman, his father chief of staff to the Wayne County executive. Kwame Kilpatrick graduated from Cass Tech. Kilpatrick had ambition and an uncanny knack at connecting with people. In his 20s, he served in the State House and then became the mayor of Detroit. A few weeks later, the smiles broadened as he began his first term.
That you will perform the duties as the duly elected mayor of the city of Detroit, according to the best of my ability, so help me God.
I will. Congratulations.
All right.
He pledged to overhaul the police department, tear down vacant homes, and put spending in line with revenue. He launched an after-school program for kids.
You can be anything you want to be. You can even be mayor.
The story that became his undoing surfaced in 2003. Deputy Chief Gary Brown said the mayor fired him for looking into rumors of a wild party at the Manoogian mansion.
There was no party at the Manoogian.
While that controversy simmered, some questioned what seemed to be the mayor's imperial style. The 13-car motorcade to one speech, the barber's chair near his office, the security detail ordering lunch for him.
No cheese, actually. No cheese.
The mayor believed his critics just didn't understand a young man's style.
It's a personality thing. It's a 32-year-old. It's an earring in his ear.
He was known across the nation as the hip-hop mayor, and his political star was rising. In 2004, he addressed the Democratic National Convention.
We stand for a nation that protects jobs with fair trade policies.
But 2005 brought a new controversy. The police department claimed a red Navigator was being used for undercover work. The truth was the pricey SUV had been purchased for Kilpatrick's wife. The mayor's re-election seemed in doubt as Freeman Hendricks challenged him. The mayor battled back. He threw his verbal punch after Hendricks' son had a scrape with the law. No one could have foreseen how ironic that statement would become. On election night, Hendricks appeared to be winning. Kilpatrick again defied the doubters and plunged into his second term. There was much to brag about: sharp rise in housing, new development downtown, employee concessions to help balance the budget. What's more, the Super Bowl showed Detroit at its best. But the mayor's old ghosts were coming back to haunt him. In September of 2007, he testified in a whistleblower lawsuit brought by Gary Brown and another fired cop. The mayor denied having an affair with his chief of staff, Christine Beatty.
I think it's absurd to assert that every woman that works with a man is a whore.
The jury ruled in favor of the cops. The mayor swore he would appeal. But soon, the lawyer for the whistleblower cops sent to the mayor's lawyer explosive text messages. They showed Kilpatrick and Beatty had perjured themselves. The mayor quickly dropped the appeal and agreed to pay the cops $8.4 million, while hiding the reason for the deal from city council. It looked like the mayor had dodged another bullet. On January 23rd, that illusion was shattered.
Good to have you with us. We start tonight with breaking news as a bombshell rocks the mayor's office tonight.
The Free Press published the damning text messages. The mayor stayed silent for days, retreating to his Florida home. He returned to his Detroit church to issue an apology.
To all of you who prayed for me, I'm sorry for the embarrassment and the disappointment.
He claimed God wanted him to be the mayor. He accused his enemies, though most were African American, of being racially motivated.
This unethical, illegal lynch mob mentality has to stop.
But his support quickly eroded in the community and on city council. The Wayne County prosecutor slapped him with 8 felony charges.
Our investigation has clearly shown that public dollars were used, people's lives were ruined.
The mayor plunged into deeper hot water by allegedly pushing a deputy. Then his unauthorized trip to Windsor led to another trip to the county jail. While Kilpatrick was taking his lumps in the criminal cases, he was being battered in the political wars. Former allies said it was time to step down. The mayor thwarted the council's attempt to get rid of him, but not the governor's plan to hold a hearing and possibly remove him. Time was running out.
I lied under oath in the case of Gary Brown and Harold Northrup versus the city of Detroit.
September of 2008, Kilpatrick pleads guilty to 2 counts of obstruction of justice. Under his plea agreement, he's sentenced to 120 days in jail, must resign from office, and he must also pay $1 million in restitution. 2 years later, Judge David Groner rules Kilpatrick violated terms of his probation by failing to report assets and turn over tax refunds. The former mayor is sentenced up to 5 years. Meantime, during that time, the feds were also building their case against Kilpatrick, pulling apart his criminal web piece by piece and charging his friends and acquaintances. Contractor Bobby Ferguson was charged. Childhood friend Derek Miller pled guilty to 2 counts, including accepting bribes and filing a false tax return. He provided information to the feds and helped them strengthen their federal case against Kilpatrick.
Mr. Miller, did you want to make any comments at all? Do you want to say anything?
The former mayor's fortress was crumbling. Those in his inner circle were speaking out and getting deals and lighter sentences. The corruption case against Kilpatrick went on for months in federal court. A jury deliberated his fate for 14 days. Then, March 11, 2013, Kwame Kilpatrick was convicted on 24 counts, including racketeering, extortion, bribery, wire fraud, and tax evasion. The jury unanimous that he used the mayor's office to enrich himself, forced contractors to pay up if they wanted to work in the city, used the Kilpatrick Civic Fund as a personal piggy bank for vacations for him and his girlfriend, that he took bribes and kickbacks and cash, expensive suits and private jet flights, and that he never paid taxes on the extra $840,000 they found in his bank account. He was sentenced to 28 years in prison. The former mayor, now known as prisoner 446-78039. In prison, Kilpatrick would try for an appeal and continue to be denied.
too much time, there was no crime.
His son Jaleel fought for his father as well. If not an appeal, maybe a pardon?
Vacate the 28.
Detroiters have really moved on. This contingency is pretty small that's asking for Trump to do something special for Kwame Kilpatrick.
Radio host Mildred Gaddis defending the conviction, however, adding the 28 years was too stiff of a sentence. Later that year, Kilpatrick and his wife Carlita divorce. Kwame Kilpatrick's release date is set for January 2037, and he has made no secret that he hopes to be pardoned before that.
A podcast about former Detroit Mayor Kwame Kilpatrick is giving new life to theories about an unsolved murder.
7 investigator Heather Catallo joins us now with a look at how the Crime Town podcast is putting a spotlight on the Tamara Green case again. Heather.
Well, the producers of the Crime Town podcast have been in Detroit on and off for months, telling the fascinating story of former Mayor Kwame Kilpatrick. They've even been interviewing Kilpatrick by phone from federal prison. In the latest episode that was just released, Crime Town zeroes in on the Tamara Green case.
Then after this young lady got killed, the news was chasing me down, calling me a murderer.
From his federal prison cell, Kwame Kilpatrick is telling all to the producers of the Crime Town podcast. From his rise as Detroit's youngest mayor to his downfall with the text message scandal and federal racketeering trial, Crime Town is reliving it all.
There was no party. Absolutely was no party.
In their most recent podcast, Crime Town's producers tackled the Tamara Green murder case. A lawsuit against the city of Detroit alleged that Green was killed because she had danced for Kilpatrick at a Manugian Mansion party. Here's retired Detroit EMS Lieutenant Michael Kearns.
Above her eye was swollen. She had been crying. She was physically upset.
And did she tell you her name?
Tammy Green.
Crime Town explores the claims of missing emails, vanishing evidence, and theories that a cop killed Green. But they also interview retired Detroit police detective Mike Carlisle about those allegations. He says most of them were just rumors.
They were completely false. If the mayor was involved, I'd gladly have put a pair of handcuffs on that man for what he did to the city of Detroit, but he wasn't.
Later this month, Crime Town will dive into the 6-month federal trial that ultimately put Kilpatrick in prison for 28 years. Here's a preview of what Kilpatrick had to say about his guilty verdict.
After the guilty verdict, I'm watching the news, and it was people dancing and happy, and we finally got him. There was people dead in the streets, and I've never seen that kind of viciousness from my city. From the people that I call my neighbors and my community people, my countrymen, and it was terribly depressing to me. I went into a depression that I didn't know that I could have.
I didn't get on my knees and pray to God to get this position, to disrespect my God, my wife, and my children in our home.
It was quintessential Kwame Kilpatrick, Detroit's brash young mayor.
I don't whore around on my wife.
Back in 2003, denying rumors that he'd had an affair and fired police officers to cover it up.
And I can't wait until the truth comes out. You can solve the problems.
Kilpatrick took office in 2001 as the new hope for a struggling city. He was 31 years old, the city's youngest mayor.
Thank you.
He promised fresh energy and bold ideas.
It's time for all of us to rise up, to rise up, to rise up.
Mayor of Detroit is a confounding mix of qualities. He's energetic. He's a great salesperson on behalf of the city of Detroit. On the other hand, the mayor of Detroit also has a tendency to make really poor personal choices, and the situation we're in right now is an example of that.
The situation involved rumors of infidelity and a wild party with strippers at the mayor's mansion, as well as allegations of abuses by his police bodyguards, charges that they were an elite protection squad run amok.
The mob. The Sopranos.
Harold Nelthrop, a 17-year police veteran, was one of the bodyguards in that unit.
Some people can't handle that type of position at that age. Like, hey, I'm the man now. I run the city. Let me bring my family and my boys on and take care of them.
He took his concerns to internal affairs.
Certain officers leaving with the department vehicles, having accidents, found that they were, drinking on duty. And, you know, and covering it up.
The head of Internal Affairs, Deputy Police Chief Gary Brown, started to investigate.
One of Nelson's complaints was that members of the mayor's executive protection unit, police officers, who make around $49,000 a year, had made over $110,000 a year. So that was pretty easy to go and verify. We simply went over and looked at the payroll records and determined that the complaint that Nelson was making, that they were padding the payroll, had some validity to it.
So it was enough for you to launch a full investigation?
Yeah, I never got a chance to launch the full investigation. I was fired by the mayor prior to me being able to do that.
Brown is a former Marine and decorated 26-year Detroit police veteran who was shot by a drug dealer in the line of duty. But he was called into the police chief's office and handed this letter, signed by Mayor Kilpatrick, relieving him of his command.
Were you fired outright or were you demoted?
No, I was fired. I mean, when they bring you into an office on a Friday and take your gun and your badge and your keys and lock you out of your office and then send your belongings home in a box, you're fired, you're terminated.
Brown fought back along with Nelthrop, taking their claims to court under the whistleblower law and opening a Pandora's box of allegations against the mayor and members of his administration, including his chief of staff, Christine Beatty.
It wasn't about the officers padding the payroll, and it wasn't about the crash cars. It was about the mayor being concerned that the affair that he was having with Christine Beatty might come up.
On the witness stand, Kilpatrick and Beatty vehemently denied it. They also denied firing Gary Brown.
Mr. Brown was unappointed. He was not fired.
But the jury sided with the whistleblowers and awarded them $6.5 million. An angry mayor vowed to appeal.
I don't believe that there was one thing in this case that was proven on the plaintiff's side, not one.
Then, suddenly, in an abrupt turnabout, the mayor agreed to settle the case for $8.4 million, $2 million more than the jury award. But why settle? And for more money, not less. Because of a trove of 14,000 text messages obtained by the whistleblower's lawyer, Mike Stefani. Text messages that directly contradicted the mayor and Beatty's sworn testimony. But in a text message dated May 15, 2003, Beatty writes, "I'm sorry that we're going through this mess because of a decision that we made to fire Gary Brown. I will make sure that the next decision is much more thought out." Kilpatrick answers, "True, it had to happen though. I'm all the way with that." And the same pattern for their personal relationship. First, denials under oath.
Your professional relationship as mayor and Christine Beatty's professional relationship as chief of staff, that you in fact have conducted yourself in such a way as professionals in a non-sexual way.
Yes.
During the time period 2001 and 2003, were you and Mayor Kilpatrick either romantically or intimately involved with each other?
No.
And did you ever use the text message system to communicate messages of a personal nature to the mayor?
No.
But the texts say otherwise. On October 7, 2002, Beatty writes, "I'm feeling like I want another night like the most recent Saturday at the Residence Inn. You made me feel so damn good." Kilpatrick answers, "I feel we can do that in West Virginia and just relax together. I need you so bad. I want to wake up in the morning and you are there. Make it happen. Love ya." Those messages were never introduced into court, but the Detroit Free Press got them and revealed them to a shocked city.
We just had a hunch there were.
The summer of 2008 is almost over. Where did the time go? I've been chronicling the year by BT and AT, before text message scandal and after text message scandal. In the spring, we learned the mayor would indeed face a long list of charges related to those infamous text messages, evidence never introduced in the successful whistleblower lawsuit against the city of Detroit. His former lover and chief of staff had to resign. Then there was this tearful apology from the mayor and his wife, appealing to our sense of fair play to let them work it out and to keep him on as mayor. Resigning? Well, out of the question. After all, it was just an affair that led to an $8.5 million settlement. Do I need to mention what happened 2 weeks ago today? An incident at his sister's house that will lead to assault charges. Assault charges! This is like a bad movie that just won't end. We can't take it anymore, and neither can you, Mr. Mayor. Detroit is exhausted. The city council has been rendered impotent, along with the office of mayor. You admitted it yourself today, Mr. Mayor. The scrutiny and the pressure are taking its toll. Let's face it, this is a bad marriage between the city of Detroit and Kwame Kilpatrick. This city is struggling to keep its head above water. A dwindling tax base, the loss of blue-collar and white-collar jobs that may never come back. There isn't a neighborhood in the city not affected by foreclosures. Now, the people of Detroit deserve a leader who's not consumed with himself, nor this controversy. A leader who doesn't just say they know the law, but respects it. A leader who can admit when he's made a mistake, take responsibility for it, but most importantly, make it right. Mr. Mayor, as you sit in jail tonight, find the courage to make it right. We know you're sorry, but this time, sorry isn't enough. We need you to go home. Make things right in your home. We need you to resign immediately.
Really no secret that Kilpatrick has a weakness for women, and it cost him dearly. But in some ways, his antics cost those women almost as much.
7 Action News investigator Raj Jones has been covering Kilpatrick for years now, including his federal trial and today's sentencing. But tonight, he looks back at the women closest to Kwame Kilpatrick and how their connection to him brought them down.
Women helped launch former Detroit Mayor Kwame Kilpatrick's rise in politics, and in turn, he helped spur their fall. From his mother to his mistress, his sister to a close friend, Kilpatrick's misdeeds helped stain a slew of promising futures well beyond just his own. Many believe his political career is traced back to his father Bernard, but it was actually Kilpatrick's mother Carolyn who exposed her son to politics, going door to door with 6-year-old Kwame to pass out her campaign literature. In his plea for a lighter prison sentence, Kilpatrick's lawyer wrote that his client still remembers sitting on his mother's lap during her first swearing-in ceremony.
Don't let nobody talk about y'all's boy!
Kilpatrick watched his mother serve 18 years in the State House and then 7 terms in Congress, but it was his high-profile antics, he admitted to a radio reporter last year, that denied her an 8th.
She lost that race because of her son. To lay in a prison bunk, listening to the results from that night, and to hear what I caused my mother was as painful as talking to my children the day that I had to tell them about messing up on the affair.
That affair was with his chief of staff, Christine Beatty, one of Kilpatrick's biggest defenders.
No mayor isn't off gallivanting on any trips.
Beatty was a lightning rod in the city who famously asked a cop that pulled her over, "Do you know who I am?" Well, here's who she is today. Bankrupt, without a steady job, and afraid to show her face in Detroit. She's been living in Atlanta since serving a 69-day jail sentence for lying under oath about her affair with Kilpatrick. And just today, she broke 5 years of silence in an essay written for Essence magazine. In the aftermath of transgression, she wrote, "We often give men the chance to rebuild their careers. Women are stuck with the labels: homewrecker, opportunity mistress, whore. Men are forgiven, women are punished." Maybe no woman was punished more by Kilpatrick than his wife Carlita, left to raise 3 children on her own during her husband's 5 stints behind bars. But she benefited from his misdeeds too, like enjoying a new Lincoln Navigator paid for by the city, and going on free vacations paid out of the Kilpatrick Civic Fund, supposed to help city children. Those scandals made it harder for Carlita to find work, and Kilpatrick's sister Ayanna too. She was a board member on the Civic Fund, and last year said she was broke, unable to find a steady job.
Good evening, Mr. Mayor. Who is Carmen Slowski?
And Kwame Kilpatrick had plenty of other women. Carmen Slowski was the mystery woman he shared a romantic bubble bath with in North Carolina days before the text message scandal broke. And those messages, released by the county prosecutor in 2009, show he juggled more than just a few others. "Can't get you out of my system," he told Ebony. "Need some love and affection," he told Alexis. And to Kabina, "I'm rushing to see you, baby." Cheryl Robinson Wood got texts too, and they nearly cost her her livelihood. The attorney was appointed as Detroit police monitor overseeing the scandal-plagued department. But while she was on the job, she had what she called a brief, intimate encounter with Kilpatrick. When city officials found out, she was booted from her job and ultimately censured. With women playing such a key role in Kilpatrick's fall, perhaps it was fitting today that his 28-year sentence was handed down by Judge Nancy Edmonds. She's one of the Eastern District's few women on the bench. I'm Ross Jones.
What made the Kwame Kilpatrick saga in Detroit so compelling were the people.
People like his Congresswoman mother, his wife, his sons, his loyal father. Aside from family members, other key players like former contractor Bobby Ferguson, charged along with Kilpatrick, seen here arriving in court in 2013. And if you look just behind Ferguson, you'll see defender Karen Drew, who's followed this story since the start and now brings us up to speed on those other key players. Karen?
We did reach out to family members of Kwame Kilpatrick today, and we're told they're not going to speak or give any kind of statement until Kilpatrick is released, free, and they agree on what they want to say. Meantime, news of his release has many asking about other people in Kilpatrick's circle.
In granting clemency, President Trump called for prison officials to immediately release Kwame Kilpatrick. Those close to him are ecstatic, but not wanting to talk on cameras right now. Over the years, we've seen photos from Kilpatrick's sons posted on social media as they visited their father in prison.
His family waits, so give the mandate to vacate the 28.
Singing.
We've been screaming free Kwame from the very beginning.
His sons even came out with a campaign and song about their father, established a Free Kwame Project website to raise money to free their dad. Now, at this time, it's unclear how much was raised and where the money will go now that he's free. One thing that is for sure, the former mayor may receive his freedom, but still is responsible to pay his $4.7 million in restitution, according to this clemency grant the defenders obtained. Meantime, Detroiters are having mixed emotions on his release.
They were trying to make an example out of him, so I feel like that's enough.
He was wrong what he done, yeah. But I feel anybody's entitled to a second chance.
When the former mayor is released, he'll be returning to a much different life. That fancy house he used to live in Texas has been sold. According to court records, Kilpatrick filed for divorce back in 2018, then later revealed his divorce from his wife Carlita on his Facebook page. Since then, Carlita moved to the East Coast. Every so often, you see a social media post. This is Carlita with her son Jaleel at his graduation from Indiana State University. Meantime, Christine Beatty, the woman and his chief of staff at the center of the text message scandal, has since moved to Atlanta. According to her LinkedIn account, is a proven leader with expertise in municipal and state government. Kilpatrick's mother, former U.S. Representative Carolyn Cheeks Kilpatrick, has moved from Detroit to Griffin, Georgia, and has been visiting her son in prison, sharing photos like this one. Meantime, Kilpatrick's co-defendant and friend, Bobby Ferguson, remains locked up for another 10 years. Those in his inner circle saying they want him released next.
Since his conviction, Kilpatrick had lost all appeals. The U.S. Supreme Court refused to hear his case. He tried to get a commutation from President Barack Obama, and that was denied. But in the end, it was President Trump who saved the day for the disgraced former mayor. Karen Drew.
Reunited with some of his family Wednesday, Kwame Kilpatrick is a free man, granted clemency by now former President Donald Trump. Now that his sentence is commuted, supporters say Kilpatrick is a force.
If he weighs in, he's going to have impact, and the current mayor knows that. And so that's why even he said that the president made the right decision.
Mayor Mike Duggan declined an interview but tweeted a response to Kilpatrick's release, saying, quote, Kwame Kilpatrick is a person of great talent who still has much to contribute. I know how close he is to his 3 sons, and I could not be happier for them being together again. This is a decision President Trump got right, end quote. What Trump didn't allow is for Kilpatrick to avoid his financial debt tied to the corruption case. He'll still have to pay nearly $4.8 million in restitution and $2,400 in a special assessment. He's also on supervised release for the next 3 years. That's probation in the federal system.
I mean,